Leading families to seek God's truth in everyday life, life. Leading families to seek God's truth in everyday life, life.
Welcome to another edition of Centurion Life. Man, I got caught up in my throat there for a minute. I'm your host, Mario Guadarrama Jr., and as always, with me is my wonderful wife, my number two,
Brittany Guadarrama.
Yes, love you, sweetie.
Love you.
Man, it has been a minute.
It's been a hot minute.
So for that, folks, we ask for forgiveness and we apologize because we have had some technical difficulties. I was needing something software-wise not software. It was actually a card that was needed for our podcast when it comes to the engineering side. And, man, this thing held us up.
It did, indeed.
Here we are going on what? I want to say 7 weeks?
Yeah.
8 weeks of nothing.
Yep.
But yet, God and the reason we ask for forgiveness is because, hey, we've been a little lazy in this, in getting this part. And so, but we stepped up our game. We're like, hey, we need to get back in the studio. We need to get to recording. And so we went local and found it and purchased it. And the funny part about it all is that part that we need that we ordered online, it's still on back order.
Yeah, it's still saying out for delivery. And we're like, it's been 6 weeks, sir. It's not out for delivery.
Yeah. Long story short, it's lost. And even more so, got to pour out that grace. They're like, I'm sorry, we can't give you a refund. And we're just like, oh.
Talk about a demonic delay.
It's something.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, we're here. We're doing God's work. And
we pushed through.
Yes. We're going to go on.
Yep.
So, again, thank you for joining us. We are so excited to get into this interesting topic that doesn't get talked about too often. And the word of the day is?
Vulnerability.
Ooh, there it is. So this word, okay? I don't know how it is for you, sweetie, but for me, when I first heard this word, I thought instantly, here's a couple different definitions that I thought in my brain that just popped up. Soft, weak.
Wow.
You have to belittle yourself. You have to walk on eggshells. And I'm just like, I ain't doing it. Ain't doing it at all. Nope. You can kick rocks. You're trying to change me. I ain't doing it. And so now that I have a better understanding, now that God has worked on my heart, changed my thought process, I embrace it. You hear the dog in the background?
This is real life, folks. We're just in a spare bedroom in our house.
Spare bedroom in the house, and the dog is going. So, vulnerability. So, on your side, when I say vulnerability, what words and definition pop up in your mind?
Yeah. Well, whenever I originally heard the term vulnerability, I thought, oh, I have that. I can be vulnerable. But the more that I sat with the word and the more that I experienced vulnerability, I realized I had a lot to learn.
Yeah.
Because vulnerability is like taking a mirror in front of you and you have to be able to see, yes, where your strengths are, yes, where you're good at, but also where you really struggle. And you have to be honest with yourself and say, I am struggling here and I need help. And for a long time, I really wasn't able to be honest with myself and say, these are the areas that I'm struggling. I wasn't able to look into that mirror of vulnerability and say, this is me. And in all of the good things and all of the bad things, and there is no shame in that.
Right.
Because to be vulnerable requires you to take the shame out of looking at what you're looking at.
Ooh, yes. Because it's looking in the mirror is and acknowledging the weak points is not a sign of weakness. It's actually strength.
Absolutely.
Okay. And that's what I love about being vulnerable. Too many people look at it and they point the finger because of their inner weaknesses. Instead of adjusting or correcting that weakness within them, they're pointing the finger to their partner.
Yes.
And they're trying to say, you need to fix what you're doing so it will adjust to my weakness rather than I correct my weakness
Yes.
so it strengthens the relationship as a whole.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like the other person's asking you to cover their insecurities, and you are the responsible person for your insecurities. You are having to be responsible for your own insecurities. It's not somebody else's job.
Yes.
It's yours.
So as the infamous counselor, I forget what her name is,
Brene Brown.
I love this woman because how she spits fire, but I always forget her name. Yes, she has coined the phrase, and I use it all the time because it's just such hardcore, concrete truth. Vulnerability leads to connectivity.
Yes.
And man, it's true. There's just no way around that. And so our first question that I have for you, sweetie, is what are the lies that the enemy tells us about vulnerability?
That vulnerability is weakness.
Yep. Like I said earlier, vulnerability is soft. It's weakness.
Yeah.
It's you have to walk on eggshells.
And then another thing that I think of whenever the enemy is really speaking to me in my vulnerable spots is that vulnerability opens you up to get hurt again.
Ooh.
So you don't be vulnerable so that nobody else can hurt you.
Right. Because you're exposing something that's tender within you.
Yes.
Which is most likely a weak point. And you don't want to expose that.
Right.
You don't want to have to make adjustments. You don't want to have to
Heal.
Heal in that weakness, in that being vulnerable.
Sure.
And the cliche statement that one of the lies that I hear time and time again in my office from couples is this. Instead of trying to be vulnerable, they use the coin phrase, "You're just trying to change me. You can't accept me for who I am."
You know, and the answer to that would be yes. Your spouse is there to grow you, to enhance you, to help you. And however, they are privy to all of you, your good points, your mediocre points, your bad points, and they're probably going to point out some areas that you don't really want to have addressed. But that is another reason why they're there, to come alongside you and help you to be a more holistic, whole Christian, to be more like Jesus. So we have to get rid of that mindset of you're just trying to change me. It's no, they're trying to help you.
Yeah. Or as I like to put it to my clients is, you need to evolve. We're not trying to change anybody, but you are trying to evolve. Okay. At one point in time, you was a baby, okay, and you couldn't talk. Then you started to coo. Then you started to flubber and think you're talking in sentences. Then you started to say single words.
Yeah.
And then from single words, then you started to say 3 words. And after 3 words became a sentence. And then as you got older, now you're using crude sentences, give me drink, give me drink. Now as a young teen, you can say, hey, can I have a drink? And as you get older, hey, I would like some Coke. Let's go get some Coke at Quick Trip or something, right? So it's not that anyone changed you.
Right.
You evolved your form of communication. This is no different, okay, than when you are in a relationship. Nobody's trying to change you.
Right.
You just simply need to evolve.
They're trying to enhance you.
Yes.
And to grow you.
And that's what your partner does. I mean, after all, there's a reason why in a lot of couples, there's opposites.
Yeah,
Okay?
that's true.
If you had everything similar to each other in a relationship, I'd be married to myself.
Do you want to be married to yourself?
No. If I could cuss on the mic, I'd be no. No, I don't want to be married to somebody like myself. My goodness. Someone slapped me all day long with the just blunt truth. No, I don't want that. You know, I appreciate how you love and you you're so soft spoken with me and you encourage me in the way you do. So no, I do not want to be married to myself. I mean, after all, I'll ask you the same. You want to be married to someone like yourself?
Absolutely not.
Oh, no?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
Because I love having you be that constant source of strength, and I can just fall into you, and I know that you're always going to have my back. And if I was married to somebody else that was like me, I wouldn't have that same dependability because you bring the dependability in the marriage and the stability.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's as I like to say, when those opposites and unique things about your partner, your spouse, that's within them, like case in point, in the beginning, early on, we've been married 16 years, but early on, you know, this is one thing that's been consistent always with you. And in the beginning, it drove me nuts. Okay? You know what that is?
What?
You talk out loud to yourself.
Oh, yeah. I am a auditory processor. And so if I'm struggling or if I'm having an overwhelming day, I'm like telling myself, okay, this is the first thing you need to do, and this is what you need to do, and this is what you need to do. And then it's like, oh, you forgot to do the laundry. Let's go start the laundry. And it irritates him.
Because for the longest time, I thought you was talking to me.
He thought,
and I'm like, that's one big old list you want me to do. I got to get to work. What you mean I got to do this, and this, and this, and this? You're off in the kitchen talking, and I'm like, dang, these expectations is high.
He needed to learn whenever I was talking to him and whenever I was just talking to talk.
Yes.
And
so
that took a while.
Now, not only because I've learned how to hear you, okay? I also know the tone in which you speak when I know you're talking to yourself, when you're processing whatever you're going through. And I can say, oh, okay, she's just, you know, she's going through it, or she's, you know, processing through that problem that she's going through, or going through the list that she needs to do for here over the next couple hours. So I just, you know, don't do anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I've learned to like tell you, hey, this is what I need you to do.
Yes.
Versus if I'm just, you know, talking to get stuff out of my brain,
but
I'm not going to tell you.
That drove me nuts. Whew, it drove me nuts. 'Cause I was like, this girl is something else. I cannot believe she's talking to herself.
I didn't realize that it was like a really odd thing to do because everybody in my family growing up did it.
Hey, just for the record, some of the smartest people in the world have audible conversations with themselves.
Yeah.
Einstein,
that's good.
Gates, all of them.
Yeah.
The smartest minds in the world
That's reassuring.
talk to themselves. So,
Good.
yeah, you're a smart woman. You married me after all, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yes. I knew a good thing whenever I saw it.
Yep, there you go. Okay, so next question for us. Why do wives desire vulnerability?
Because we're women, and women need emotional connection.
Okay.
We're wired for emotional connection, and vulnerability and intimacy are within the realm of emotional connection.
Well, they walk hand in hand.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So I agree 100% with that. And also within that, from a male's perspective, the one thing I see is why women desire that, why wives desire that, is because you want full access to our heart
Yeah.
and to our mind.
Yeah.
And honest truth is, men don't deal with that. Okay.
Right.
It's a process for us as we walk into,
Mm-hmm.
okay, we can actually walk into a relationship, get into a relationship, but it's literally 6 months to a year before we allow that full access.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we're looking and searching for different things in the relationship, you know, from what the ladies want versus what the men want. And the first thing that we want is, where's that stability of peace that you can bring into my life?
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where are you at with God?
Mm-hmm.
You know, are we thinking on the same playing field of the basic principles of, you know, who God is and can we partner with this?
Yeah.
So we're not looking at the vulnerable side of things. We're instantly looking at the peace because we deal with a lot out in the world. That's the honest truth.
Yeah.
So the next question I have is, why do men despise it?
I don't necessarily think that men despise
Okay.
emotional connection. I think that they get it misunderstood. Okay, this is what I think happens. I think that they crave emotional connection just as much as women, but they process it as, I need physical intimacy.
Right.
Because somewhere along the way, the wires got crossed. And they're like, I need this physical intimacy. Because with men, as you know, they get their connection, they get their emotional connection met through physical intimacy.
Right.
And I think that it just takes time to talk to somebody and be like, okay, you're asking for, you know, physical intimacy, but are you really wanting physical intimacy, or are you wanting to feel connected to me?
Correct. I agree with you. It's a misunderstanding, and that boils down to, did we have a good example with our parents
Yeah.
on what vulnerability is? Now,
Yeah.
I would safely say that 9 times out of 10, we did not. Most people did not have a good
Yeah.
example or experiences with parents that practiced the basic, you know, biblical principles on how to act, how to react, and how to speak to themselves when it comes to a biblical relationship. I did not have that. My mother was divorced by the time I was 12. My father abused us physically and emotionally from birth until I was 12 years old. So, and my mom took it way much longer than that because, you know, they were high school sweethearts. So there was never a good biblical understanding of what a relationship, how it should operate.
Yeah.
So, and then when she got remarried, yes, she knew Jesus. Yes, she met the man, and he was a man of God. But because of their circumstances and my mom's brokenness, that was never addressed. Okay, I'll be honest. She never went to counseling.
Yeah.
My stepfather, for practical purposes, he did have a good example of biblical parents in his life. So there was this healthy and unhealthy balance between the two of them. And 9 times out of 10, it's so much easier to join somebody rather than trying to lift them up. But if you can't lift somebody up, if they don't want to, or if they don't understand, you see, or willing.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like someone standing on a chair, another one standing on the floor.
Yeah.
Is it easy to pull somebody up onto the chair with you, or is it easier to pull someone off the chair?
That's a good analogy.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well,
It's easier to pull somebody down.
he joined my mom. And in that, it became this very unbalanced emotional family setting within our home, you know. And, you know, to dive a little bit into that allowed my younger brother, 2 years younger than me, he chose, he's like, I'm done.
Yeah.
And the ironic part is, he's like, I'm so done with this aspect of this crazy ride
Mm-hmm.
that's not healthy for us.
Yeah.
He chose to go live back with our father, the very person that abused us physically. But he's a teenager at this point, and so he's like, I'd rather go try this than stay here. So he left.
Wow.
Okay. I got foolish, and with my high school sweetheart, it's no big secret to everybody, but I got with my high school sweetheart. I knocked her up when I was 17. And so I moved out, got married to her.
Mm-hmm.
And then my third brother, who is 7 years younger than me, he got into fights physically with my stepfather to the point to where the state took him.
Wow.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So all this, I confess to say that there was this unhealthy emotional setting within our home.
Yeah.
There was not a healthy balance of biblical principles that was being lived out by the parents.
Yeah.
So it was a big old hot mess.
Yeah.
Okay? Big old hot mess. And so when I went into my first marriage, it ruined it. It ruined it. Half of it was my choice, okay? The other half was what I learned, good and bad, mostly bad, between my mom's two marriages. And so it was a whole lot of understanding, some counseling, and just surrendering it to God to get to a better place within my mind and my heart. To the point where when I met you, I still had issues. I still had problems, but it was a whole different Mario that met Brittany.
Yeah.
So I can move forward, and I understood the principle that you're not trying to change me. It's just that I do need to evolve.
Yeah.
Now, we did have a problem in a situation to where it arose to where it was a crucial breaking point for us to where vulnerability was just because of the absence, because of your past and how you operated, between that portion of it, my unknowing, your unknowing, your childhood rising up within our marriage,
Sure.
boom,
Yep.
a big thing happened to us.
Yeah.
And so we had a very short period of separation that was wrong decisions, wrong things that were done. Long story short, during the time that you were gone, you left me. Victor got bit by a dog.
Yeah.
And now he had, 13, 14 stitches on his cheek,
Yeah.
right below his ear. And now there's a physical reminder on if we don't do what we're supposed to be doing as men and women of God in the relationship, there's a price to that.
Yes.
And for that, because of the wrong decision for you to leave, because of the wrong decision that I made in choosing not to be vulnerable and just to steamroll you in every hard conversation that we had and not listening to you and kind of being dominating in that, the price was our son got bit on the cheek.
Yeah.
And now there's a physical reminder all the time of that crucial point, and it's a hard reminder. I rejoice because we're still together, married 16 years now.
Yes.
But man,
I know. Yeah, we
didn't have to go there.
We didn't, but God takes bad things and turns them and makes good out of it.
Yes, he always gets the glory.
Yes, amen. So, and I just wanted to add, to that particular part of our story, I grew up with a single mom, so I just didn't have any role model to even look at and say, okay, this is what I'm not going to do.
Right.
So there just wasn't anything.
There was no father figure.
There was no father figure, and then there also there just wasn't a lot of deep emotional conversations in the house. Yes, we were all women, but there wasn't that level of vulnerability in the house.
Right.
So I was really, really lacking any sort of tool to even say I'm struggling in this area, because I just didn't know to communicate, because I just didn't know how to say, hey, I need help.
Right.
And
that's what we refer to as self-deception. You don't know that you don't know.
Well, yeah, at that time, I don't think that I knew to the full extent.
Right.
that I was really lacking in the communication area. Even telling you that I was having a problem, even telling you that something was wrong. So that was kind of my journey to vulnerability, because it takes vulnerability to tell the other person, hey, I'm really struggling here. I don't think I have all the tools in this area. I
Yep.
need to grow here.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, unfortunately, it took our son being bit by a dog to wake us both up. And that was a wake-up call for me to get like, okay, if there are going to be consequences if you don't get it together,
Yeah.
basically. And
But-
we did.
But
We did.
thank goodness for the grace of God
Yep.
and our surrender to our faith
Mm-hmm.
that we pulled that around in just a week's time.
That's true. I believe that, yeah, we started therapy or marriage counseling pretty soon after that.
Yes.
Yeah,
we went
100%.
to our couples counseling right after that because it was just so necessary because we were lost.
Yeah.
And that's where I was first introduced
Mm-hmm.
by Dr. Roz in our counseling that, vulnerability leads to connectivity. And she
Mhm.
pointed me to, part of that to that wonderful lady.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a hard lesson learned,
Yeah.
The one thing I can impress upon anybody out there is that, when you're not surrendered or if you don't freely give that portion to God or is
Mhm.
intentionally seeking, okay, then there's going to be a cost sooner or later in the
Yeah.
relationship.
100%.
What's that going to cost you? For us, it was 14 stitches on our son's cheek. That's
Yes.
forever physically there as a reminder. When he gets older, when he grows a beard, that portion will
Yeah.
not grow.
Probably won't grow any hair. So I do want to add a little bit of redemption to this,
Go ahead.
because whenever Victor got bit by a dog, he was 4 years old. And so he is now 11.
Yes, he is.
And the other day he goes, Mom, was all the pain, this is from our 11-year-old's mouth. Mom, was all the pain that you and Dad went through worth it?
Mm.
And I looked at him and I said, absolutely.
Yes, it was.
And we began to have a conversation about what he saw during that time frame. And he's like, I saw you guys go through a lot of pain. And that took humility on my end to hear my child say that he saw his parents go through a lot of pain.
Wow.
But I asked him and I said, how do you think that Mom and Dad are doing now? And he said, I think that the marriage is very good now.
Amen.
And so
How'd that make you feel when he said that?
it made me feel amazing, because he saw us go from darkness to light, and he saw his prayers answered. He saw us get victory in that area.
Mm-hmm.
He saw us, he saw the example of, what hard work and determination and vulnerability and Jesus being at the center of a relationship can do.
Yep.
He saw a miracle in his mother and father. So I believe that leads him to know that God can be trusted, and that God answers prayers, and that God works.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I didn't know you guys had a little conversation like that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. He continues to impress me all the time.
He's a deep theological young man.
Yes, he is. You know, we need to get him back in here and have a little father-son thing. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
But so here's our last question that we have within this whole vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it vital to the marriage?
I don't think that you can have true connection with somebody without intimacy and vulnerability.
Okay.
I don't think it's possible.
I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I would like to add to that is vulnerability is vital to a marriage if you want to grow.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to remain the same. Okay? How I loved you in year 1
Mm-hmm.
is entirely different than how I love you in year 16.
Yeah.
How I treat you, how I talk to you, how I meet your needs, all of it has grown, has evolved to a better level.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Like level 1, level 16, if you whatever you want to call it. Year
Right.
after year, I continue to improve. You know, and then even more so when I look to my grandparents, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and I see that they were married for 50 plus years,
I know.
and the conversations I had with my grandpa while he
Mhm.
was on this earth,
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing on the stories that he gave me, you know, from when the little innocence of them and, ooh, Mara, see that old car? And I'm like, yeah, what's that, Grandpa? Ooh, I remember that. And I'm like, well, tell me. And he's like, that's the first time I ever made out with your grandma in the back of the
my
seat of that
God.
car. And I was like, ooh, Grandpa, Grandpa, you know, and then, you know, as years gone by, you know, and having deeper conversations and deeper
Mhm.
conversations, you know, he just continued to pour out that wisdom to me in those little moments that we always had. And, you know, one of the things that I always remember is that he just said, you know, keep Jesus at the center.
Mhm.
Keep Jesus at the center.
Yep.
And that meant the world to me. That this man of God never, at least in my eyes, for all practical purposes, never really went off the deep end
Mhm.
when it came to his role and in his marriage. They were rock. Okay.
Yeah.
And I still look at that. And that's a testament because, you know, he's been gone for a couple of years now.
Mm-hmm.
And here grandma is still trucking along.
Mm-hmm.
And she is not just gone off the deep end with the absence of her husband. Yes, she still mourns for him. Yes,
Sure.
she misses him deeply.
Mm-hmm.
But because she is rooted in Jesus, okay,
Mm-hmm.
she still has a smile on her face.
Yeah.
Okay. When I speak with her, you know, she still has that uppity pep with her. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there's a healthy balance of that, yeah, I miss him,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I think people from grandma and grandpa's generation were just built with this grit that is just, I'm not stopping for
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
And the determination that they both had, you know, they were both farmers, and, you know, they had to get some thick skin because sometimes the crops weren't always so good,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you had to make it work.
You know, there's, how do I say this? There was a level of physical hardships that they had to go through
Mhm.
that tied with the emotional hardship because they're going through the physical hardship.
Yeah.
Of just supply and demand when it comes to their dynamics and with the family that they had. You know, they had
Mhm.
what, six kids?
Yeah.
Let me
6.
think. Billy, Belinda, Beverly, 7.
Oh, wow. Mhm.
Okay, so I had 7 kids,
Mhm.
and man, you know, living on 50 acres.
Yep.
You know, and one whole acre was a garden
Yeah.
by itself. You know, I remember being little going out there, and I was like, after 20 minutes, I'm like, am I done, Grandma? And she's like, no, you need to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, holy cow.
They're not going to lie. They were some hard people,
Yeah.
but they also loved a lot.
Yeah.
So they were hard. They expected a lot out of you.
Yes, they did.
But they also loved you and would feed you and would dote on you and play games. And
This is
all
how
of that.
hard they were, okay? They had a full acre of a garden, okay?
Mhm.
Then they had probably 15 to 20 cows, 3 of them that they milked all the time.
Mhm.
The others, as they grow, they sold and they had
Butchered.
beef for themselves. Yes, for
Mhm.
themselves and sold for other people. And then they had chickens.
Mhm.
Then they had guineas. And all that, you know, like specifically the chickens,
Mhm.
they would not only raise the chickens for the eggs,
Mhm.
but they would raise the chickens to also eat
The meat
too.
meat
Yeah.
chickens.
And
Mhm.
I remember, here you go, we're completely off topic, but it's just funny as can be. Talk about my stupidity here.
Yeah, it's okay. You went from California surfer boy to Oklahoma farmer
Yeah,
overnight.
yeah.
So this is his story.
So year after year, I saw my grandma going out there every spring and gathering an equal balance of old chickens and young ones. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Because there is a difference in meat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
There
I
is
bet.
between
bet.
old and young, but she has to keep a healthy balance.
I'm taking
And I would
notes.
see her
Mhm.
taking them out back. Okay.
Yeah.
On a stump with a hatchet and off
That was
with the head.
Old school.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, dang, and then I finally manned up at like 13 years old,
Uh-huh.
and I went back there and physically watched. And I was like, she's not only is she, the head off,
Uh-huh.
the way she grabs them by the feet,
Uh-huh.
she pins the wings with one hand.
Yeah.
So the body, wings, and feet are all in one hand, right?
Mhm.
And she lays the chicken down on the stump and just goes, and then boom, heads off.
Yep.
And the funny part is that she throws the body probably about 5 or 6 feet away from her, just throws it. And the reason why is because it's true.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Mm-hmm. The
The
saying.
chicken does a dance with its head cut off. It jolts around and, not to get graphic, but, it's
It's all the nerves.
The draining is coming from the neck, the nerves, the body thinks it's still active, and it's just and flopping around. And I'm just like, holy cow. This is gross and awesome all at once for a 13-year-old boy.
Oh, I bet you were
I'm just like,
enthralled.
this is how we get chicken in a package? No way. Do they do this everywhere at a plantation? And Grandma's like, yes, this is how we got to do it. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I want to do it.
Oh,
And
I bet you were.
Yeah. And she's like, you want to do it? And I'm like, yeah, Grandma, I can do it. And she's like, okay, son, come here. She goes, grab the feet. I grab the feet. She goes, grab one wing. I grab the wing, pull it back, put it in my hand. Grab the other wing, put it in my hand. And she goes, all right, now lay the chicken on the stump. And I went, whack. And she goes, hey. You don't need to whack it like that. Let's be nice. Don't throw the chicken on the stump and bang its head. And I'm like, wait a minute, Grandma. I'm about to cut the head off this chicken. What does it matter if I slam the chicken on the stump or not? And she's like, no. We're going to be humane. We're going to be humane. We got to honor the life we're about to take to feed us. And I was like, okay,
I can see Grandma saying that.
Yeah. She's like, don't be mean to it. And I'm like,
Let's
okay.
let it only have one bad day. Okay.
So I put that chicken, I lay it's nice and soft. And I'm like, in that moment, I look down and I catch eye to eye with this chicken. And in my brain, I hear this, don't cut my head off, please.
No.
And I convince myself in that brain, but I got to eat you. So
the mind of a 13-year-old
I closed my eyes and I swung the hatchet. Okay? And I hear the thud that goes through the stump.
Okay.
And then my eyes are still closed. I throw the chicken.
Oh, my God.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, whoo! I looked at Grandma. I open my eyes up and I throw both my hands up like Rocky Balboa. And I said, look, Grandma, I did it. And instantly, Grandma disappears in front of my face. And she's like, oh, dear Lord, Mario, help me. And I looked around and I turned, and this chicken's head, I only cut half of it off. So now it's flopping with the head on it, right? It's it's in horrible pain at this point. I'm just imagining, okay?
I can't even.
And my grandma's running around because this chicken is running in circles, flopping and everything, okay? Mm-hmm. I'm standing there as still as can be, just going,
I bet you were mortified.
Yes, I didn't know what to do. I'm like, I'm not about to catch a chicken because when she caught it, the blood's still coming out. Now it's splattering on her shirt, splattering on her hands, right? And so what does she do? She grabs the head of the chicken and then she goes and swirls it and then breaks the rest of the neck off. Yeah, wrings the head off. Wow. Okay? And she's like, dear Lord, Mario, if you're going to do it, do it. If not, step aside. And I was like, Grandma, I'm trying to, but
There was no try with them. They were just like, you're going to. That was the mentality that they had. Yes, they were like, you're either going to do it or not.
If not, get out the way.
Yeah.
I got work to do. So that was a hard lesson for me of, hey, maybe I'm not ready for that full adulthood yet.
Maybe not.
That level of hardship. 13. But man, I will never forget that day. That chicken with its head flopping like that, and Grandma running around trying to catch it. That was just.
You learned a valuable lesson that day.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I was not ready for hardship as an adult. 13 years old. What was I thinking? So, anyhow, let's pump our brakes and get back on topic.
Honestly, I love that Grandma gave you the opportunity, though.
She didn't hesitate. She didn't hesitate.
She was like, "You think you're ready? Here we go."
Yep. She just goes, "Okay, here you go. This is what you do." And so, to tie that back in, that's how loving and wonderful God is. As soon as you're willing, okay, he's like, "Okay, here you go. Let's try this."
Yeah.
Okay. And in that moment, my grandma didn't shame me. Okay. Yes, she did say, "Oh, dear Lord Mario, help me." Okay.
Yeah.
So even in the moment of my failure, my grandma still encouraged me to still help, to still find the solution, okay, which was trying to catch the chicken and put it out of its misery.
Right.
And that's what God does for us in our marriage, okay, when it comes to that being that vulnerable. And when you step
He
up to
wrings her
the
neck.
Yeah, no. Maybe. I don't know.
It feels like it sometimes.
Some people need to get wrong. I don't know. Jesus.
I'm sorry, I had to. Okay.
But
Anyway, let's go.
my God, forgive us. Man, I'm so okay. Here we go.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you threw me off, way off. But God helps us in our vulnerability. When we step up to the mirror and look at what we need to address, He encourages us instantly. He's right there, just like my grandma was, shows us precisely how we need to do it, what we need to address, and He helps us walk it through.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
even if we fail,
Yes.
He's an instant encourager to keep us going,
That's true.
just like my grandma did.
He's a helper.
And so that's what I love about being vulnerable. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength.
Yes.
And I hope that in hearing this, especially men, coming from me, the moment you become vulnerable with your woman, with your spouse, it's amazing on how many other doors open for you on a deeper level of connection.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's what I love about being married to you, is that when I opened up that door, man, I thought I was going to have to walk on eggshells. I thought, man, I'm going to be drugged through so much crap. It wasn't. It wasn't. Because I opened up my heart, you instantly ran and just grabbed it. And not only did you cultivate it more, but you also protected it.
Wow.
And that built a deeper trust,
Yes.
that I had for you, the deeper level of connection. And there were so many other things that it was tied to. It was tied to how you spoke to me. It was tied to how you met my needs. It was tied to the bedroom talk. It was tied to, how we unified as a couple on every level of, fighting the enemy, dealing with problems, circumstances. It was the missing piece.
Yeah.
I as simply as I can say, it was the missing piece that made everything come together.
Right. Yeah. I mean, as you were talking, I was just thinking about how vulnerability and intimacy deepen the roots of your marriage and fortify you against the attack of the enemy. Because if you have this beautiful and this deep connection with your spouse, then some cute girl walking by is not going to faze you.
Nope, it does not.
It's not going to be a temptation because you know what you have and you have this beautiful relationship, and you're not going to want to risk, for a cute face that walks by.
As Proverbs, what is it, 31? What does it say about the lady? You were like gems, jewels. Okay,
rubies.
You are more precious than anything, and that is absolutely so true. Just like what you said, there was a period in time where prior to my vulnerability, prior to the deeper connections I had with you, my eyes did look and and then as I got older and as I began to connect with you more and more, okay. By the way, keep in mind that this should be done at a dating level, not within the marriage. But for us, this was just our journey.
Yeah.
Okay. if you build it the right way, the proper way, you take care of all the issues, most of the issues prior to getting married. Okay,
Yeah.
we just went the long route.
We did.
So,
But we made it. So.
yes, we did.
Woohoo.
But as I grew with you, okay, you are
That's
correct.
beautiful.
Excuse me. When a female walks in front of me now, I don't bat an eye. I don't think twice. I used to have to put procedures in place to bounce my eyes.
Yeah.
You know, oh, there's one right there. Oh, she's wearing yoga pants, way too tight. Bounce my eyes. Bounce my eyes. Walmart, gas station, whatever.
Yeah.
Bounce my eyes. That was my practice that I did. I don't need to look. I don't want to look. I have a woman that's home, that's beautiful, that takes care of me in every way, meets all my needs.
Yeah.
Wonderful bedroom talk. I don't need any of that. I need to be looking and give opportunity for temptation.
Yeah.
Now, I don't even flinch.
Yeah.
I don't have to bounce my eyes because my eyes automatically, okay? In other words, it's an instant reaction that I do. I don't even flinch. And that's to the testament of allowing myself to be vulnerable, to connect deeper with you, to have a better understanding that you are the only thing I need when it comes to a relationship. You are the only thing that I need when it comes to love, my needs, and everything. God is my source.
Right.
But you are my resource.
Right.
Okay.
And I love that you say that it's a resource, and I love being that resource.
Thank you, Pastor Mike Todd, for saying that.
Yeah, I love being that resource for you because then I can hear God, and then give that to you.
Yes.
You know, that's a beautiful thing if you're both spirit-filled is you can hear God on behalf of one another and you can act that out.
Yes, you can.
So I love moments like that whenever we can meet a need that maybe hadn't been met ever, even in childhood.
Right.
And we can meet that need and we can grow the intimacy in a deeper way. So yeah, it's beautiful.
Right. So, as simply put, just to wrap this up, it's just simply this: vulnerability always leads to connectivity, and until you're willing to look into the mirror as to all the things that you need to work on, okay? Nobody is trying to change you. It's just that God is acknowledging to you, giving you that little nudge, that you need to evolve whatever is the weak point in yourself,
Right.
to better the relationship. And when you do that, I promise you that the level of connection, the deeper the connectivity, the more doors that it opened, it's amazing on how God can just use you as a whole, as a unit,
Yeah.
to shine the light in others. It's a beautiful thing. You know what I mean?
Amen.
So, well, that's all I have. Do you have anything else you want to add to that?
Nope, I think we covered it.
Okay. Well, until the next time, we want to thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you. So until the next time, we love you. God loves you, and stay blessed. And always here at Centurion Life, we're always leading families to seek God's truth in everyday life.